Could 100 modern soldiers conquer ancient Egypt? The year is 1250 BC. The sun burns over the Nile. The empire of Egypt stands unchallenged, a civilization of gods, kings, and soldiers. Below the pyramids, armies march beneath bronze shields and fluttering banners. The desert trembles beneath their chariots. And then thunder. A sound no one in this world has ever heard. The roar of gunfire cuts across the sands. 100 strangers have appeared from the horizon. Men wrapped in strange armor. Men carrying weapons that spit fire and metal. Men from the 21st century. Could 100 modern soldiers, trained, equipped, and armed with the weapons of our time, conquer ancient Egypt? To find out, we must imagine the scenario. A modern infantry detachment, 100 elite soldiers, veterans of modern war, each armed with M4 carbines, body armor, night vision optics, and radio communication. They bring a handful of armored Humvees, a few drones, and limited supplies, ammunition, fuel, food, and water for just a few weeks. Their mission: seize control of the Nile Delta, capture the Pharaoh, and bring a 3,000-year-old empire to its knees. No reinforcements, no resupply, no way home. 100 soldiers against one of history's greatest civilizations. At first, the difference in power seems beyond measure. An M4 rifle can fire 700 rounds per minute, each bullet faster than sound, each capable of tearing through bronze and flesh alike. Single machine gun could devastate entire formations before the enemy even closes the distance. Explosives would rip through chariots. Mortars would rain destruction from unseen heights. To the enemy of Pharaoh, this would not be war. It would be judgment, thunder that kills, lightning that burns. Enemies who seem like living gods. For the first few days, the modern soldiers would be unstoppable. But Egypt was never weak. This was one of the most powerful, organized, and enduring civilizations the world had ever known. The Pharaoh's rule stretched from the Mediterranean to the deserts of Nubia. He commanded tens of thousands of warriors, all loyal, all devoted to their god-king. Egypt's true strength was not its swords or chariots. It was its unity, its religion, its ability to command the labor of millions through faith and order. When the priests declare that these invaders are false gods, demons of chaos, the people would rise in numbers beyond counting. The first battle would be swift and terrible. Drones spot the Egyptian host long before it approaches. Mortars open fire, pounding the sand with thunder. Machine guns roar, cutting down bronze-clad warriors by the hundreds. Chariots shatter beneath the blast of grenades. Infantry scatter in terror. In minutes, the battlefield becomes a storm of dust and fire. Those who survive flee back towards the Nile, carrying tales of fiery demons who cannot be killed. For a time, the 100 soldiers would seem invincible. But even gods bleed, and even their power runs dry. Modern warfare has a secret enemy: logistics. Every bullet, every drop of fuel, every battery matters. Each soldier carries what they can: a few hundred rounds, rations, a limited water supply. Even if they began with hundreds of thousands of rounds, that ammunition would vanish quickly. A few major battles and the crates would be empty. When the last bullet is fired, their advantage disappears. There are no factories here, no diesel, no spare parts, no resupply. Their machines will break, their radios will fail, their drones will fall silent. When that happens, they are no longer gods. They are men, stranded in a hostile world. Then the desert itself begins to fight back. The Egyptian sun is merciless. The sand invades every weapon and engine. Water runs low. Food spoils in the heat. Diseases, parasites, infections, enemies unseen begin to strike. Without refrigeration, without medicine, the soldiers grow weak. The Nile becomes their only lifeline, and even there danger waits. Crocodiles, heat, and the constant watch of Pharaoh's scouts. The Egyptians, though shaken, begin to understand their enemy. They observe, they adapt. They learn that these invaders bleed like any other man. When the thunder fades, Pharaoh strikes back. Priests proclaim that the gods of Egypt have awakened. Messengers call warriors from across the land. Tens of thousands answer the call. The black banners of vengeance rise over the dunes. They march at night, guided by the stars. They strike from the shadows, burning supply caches, cutting water lines, swarming isolated soldiers. 100 rifles cannot fight forever. Sand jams their weapons. Engines seize. The few remaining vehicles are surrounded, burned, destroyed. The soldiers fight bravely, but numbers consume them. Even modern tactics cannot stop the tide. The Nile turns red with blood. In the end, the survivors, if any, would flee into the desert. Hunted, exhausted, starving. Perhaps one is captured, paraded before the pharaoh as proof that even false gods can die. Perhaps another hides a journal or carves a warning into stone. A record of thunder and fire that no one will believe. To the Egyptians, these strangers would become myth, the sons of thunder, destroyers from beyond time who defied the will of Ra and were buried by the sands. And as centuries pass, their weapons would rust, their bones would vanish, and their story would fade into legend. So, could 100 modern soldiers conquer ancient Egypt? At first, yes. They could devastate its armies, they could burn its cities, they could bring a pharaoh to his knees. But conquest is more than victory on the battlefield. Conquest requires control. It requires food, supply, communication, and belief. And belief is no weapon in command. When the bullets are gone and the batteries die, only one truth remains. Technology wins battles. Civilizations win wars. Egypt would endure. Its people would rebuild. Its monuments would stand for millennia, long after the invaders would dust. Power alone is never enough. To survive, power must be sustained, shared, and remembered. And so the great paradox of this war is clear. 100 soldiers could crush Egypt's armies, but Egypt itself, its faith, its people, its river, would outlast them all. In the end, the desert would reclaim everything. And the story of the modern soldiers would become one more mystery buried beneath the sands. Technology fades, empires rise and fall, but endurance endures. Perhaps the real question isn't whether modern soldiers could conquer the past, but whether any civilization, no matter how advanced, could survive if it were torn from its own time. If 100 soldiers cannot conquer history, what would happen if history tried to conquer us?